First of all, two creepy doll movies in 2 weeks. Okay, that's one thing. But here's the thing about Annabelle. I know Annabelle isn't possessed. I know a demon is controlling Annabelle, but just look at it. Just look at this doll. Doesn't this doll just say, "I'm going to steal your soul," just by looking at it? Why would you open the case? Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. As always, I am your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today we're going to be taking a look at the latest installment in the Conjuring Universe, and also the third film, technically in a trilogy. We're going to be taking a look at Annabelle Comes Home. Now, what this movie is about, you have where Ed and Lorraine Warren have just come into possession of Annabelle, and they're going to be bringing her to their room of wonders to lock her away because, of course, there's a demon controlling this doll. So they bring the doll to their house and lock it away in the case, as you've seen in the Conjuring movies and in the Annabelle movie. And then we skip ahead a year where Ed and Lorraine are going to be going away for the night. So their daughter's being babysat. And when the friend of the babysitter comes over who has had a loss in her life, she makes her way into the room and ends up opening the case. And this causes everything within the room to start coming back to life, so to speak. I am going to dance around spoilers as much as I can with this review. But if you couldn't tell already, this movie does take place pretty much between the other Annabelle movies and The Conjuring, because this is kind of the last time they're going to deal with Annabelle, at least as far as we know. Maybe it'll happen in the new Conjuring movie that's coming out. But this is the battle against Annabelle and other things. I'll get to that in a bit. As a Conjuring movie, look, I liked The Conjuring 1 and 2, and I liked Annabelle Creation. I wasn't a big fan of The Nun. And I wasn't a big fan of the first Annabelle movie, even though Annabelle Creation did tie in perfectly to that movie. So I was a little worried. I wasn't sure what I was going to get. And I feel like whoever they hire to direct these movies, and this is not a bad thing, by the way, if you're wanting to keep some consistency, whoever they hire for these movies, they kind of just open the James Wan playbook when it comes to one of these movies. And if you're looking at, James Wan's work on like The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, that's kind of what you want in this universe. So what you get is, I don't want to say by the numbers, but you get a James Wan feeling Conjuring Universe movie with Annabelle Comes Home. And for me, not a bad thing. You get similar type scares, the psychological type stuff. But here's the thing about this movie is, part of me, even though I really like this movie and would recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the Conjuring universe, this movie seemed to be a casting call for the next spin-off film or films. Because not only do we get Annabelle causing havoc, which they kind of blame Annabelle for everything, which, I don't know, that was kind of a cheap way of not doing much with Annabelle, because though this is Annabelle Comes Home, they kind of make Annabelle the catalyst for everything else, because if you've seen the promotional material, you've seen all sorts of different other things from the room in the Warrens' house, a lot of their other cursed items. Boy, they put a lot of stuff in this. Some you've seen and some you haven't. That being said, while I do feel this is a casting call for the next spinoff, I liked what they used. There is probably, I would say, 3 different things they introduced, maybe even 4, that would make cool films, hopefully. I mean, granted, we got The Nun, which, again, had great atmosphere, but the story was predictable, and it just didn't feel right. But there was like 3 or 4 of these possessed things that I could see them having their own movie, which I know I hate saying that because I would rather just see Conjuring movies, but they teased a few different things, and they had these few different things haunting the babysitter, the daughter, and the babysitter's friend. So and then a boy the babysitter is interested in too, because that's where some of the movie's funnier parts came from. But yeah, I have a feeling that once this movie comes out, the makers of these movies are going to figure out what did people like from this movie of the other things, and then we might get those movies. Again, if you've seen the promotional material, you've seen what these things look like. I was interested in the samurai armor because they didn't do much with it. But one thing they showed, it's like, I really want to know what that story is. Also, like there was one other that I don't think's in the promotional material that I wouldn't mind seeing a spinoff of as well. 2 of the others, I was like, well, okay, I would watch it, but I wasn't as interested, even though I liked what they were doing with them in this movie. So yeah, definitely, we're throwing up a lot of spinoffs up against the wall and seeing what sticks with this movie. That being said, when it comes to Annabelle and the creature controlling Annabelle, what else are you going to do with it? You know what I mean? The doll moves. The doll rocks the chair. The doll ends up in another room. Whatever. You know, they do a few of that stuff some of that stuff in this movie, but really, there's a lot of different things going on in this movie, and really for me it worked because as creepy as Annabelle is, I think they've really done most of what they could do with Annabelle in the first 2 movies. So I'm kind of happy they kind of spread the love when it came to the curse stuff in this movie. Going into this movie, especially after seeing the promotional material, I was wondering why this just wasn't The Conjuring 3. First of all, I didn't know what the time period was, and now it makes sense for me why it wasn't The Conjuring 3. But because I didn't know when this movie was going to take place. And as I said, it takes place between the Annabelle movies and The Conjuring. So that makes sense. But also, as much as Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson are in the marketing, they are barely in this movie. They are at the first and they are at the end, and that is it. Whenever I hear them in the movie go, we're going away for the night or whatever, it's like, oh, it's going to be up to the youngins to take care of business. So that's why it wasn't a Conjuring 3. That being said, with everything going on, it felt, in a way, this movie felt like a blow-off to like the Conjuring universe, because like they're getting attacked by everything in this room. So I mean, there were so many different little creepy things that I was interested in, but like I said, 2 of them really stood out as I wouldn't mind seeing other movies. But you know, there's all this stuff going on. It's like that's what you'd want to see the Warrens take on. But that being said, it's up to the daughter, now played by McKenna Grace. I thought she did a really good job. I really liked the kid acting in this. Madison Eisman, she is Mary Ellen. She's the babysitter. Katie Sarif is the friend, and she has a story about where she lost her dad. That's why she's interested in this room and the idea of being able to talk to the dead. And then I'll probably mispronounce this kid's name, Michael Cimino. He plays the boy interested in the babysitter, Mary Ellen. I thought they all did a really good job because they really had to carry this movie because, again, the Warrens were only bookending the film. When it came to the scares, okay, this is one of those movies, and The Conjuring has really gotten like this, where they are creepy, and the atmosphere's been mostly good in most of the movies. But with this one, especially when it came to the wannabe boyfriend, what he had to deal with, some of it was really funny, and it was supposed to be. So they did try to get a little lighthearted on parts of it. Whether or not it works, I thought it worked. Whether or not it works, it's really up to the viewer. But I thought it kind of worked because it kind of gave you a breather from everything else going on with all the other stuff these kids are dealing with. Because again, they're dealing with a lot, especially the friend of the babysitter. The character's name is Daniela. She is in the room more than anybody, so she has to deal with more than anybody. But if, I don't know, the humor might bother some people. It might take you out of it. Me, I thought it gave you a little bit of a breather from everything that's going on, so I thought it kind of worked. And then when the Warrens are around, they, for the most part, have some pretty humorous stuff as well. And I really like seeing them in it. Again, I'm just waiting for the next Conjuring movie because I'd rather see the Warrens in the movie than these spin-offs. And then again, I say I wouldn't mind seeing these spin-offs. So all in all, though, if you dig The Conjuring, this is one of the good ones. Especially since it's a lot closer to the Conjuring universe because it deals with those characters. I don't think anyone's going to really compare it to the first Annabelle movie. I think they're going to be comparing it more to The Conjuring, The Conjuring 2. Is it as good as The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2? It's close. The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2 are still, the flagship shows are still, or flagship movies are still the better movies. But this spin-off, especially with everything they introduced and some of the ideas they introduced, some of the characters they introduced, having McKenna Grace take over as Judy Warren, I thought, she did a really good job. I would recommend this movie if you are a horror fan, and if you're looking for, even though I didn't hate Child's Play, if you're looking for a better movie about a doll, this is definitely one I think that you're going to enjoy, again, especially if you are a fan of the Conjuring universe. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel, like this video, and if you have anything to say about the Conjuring universe or when you see this movie, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Until next time, I'm your host, the Real Geno, Geno Reynolds. See you later.